Okay, today I'm going to tell you what I think causes sex addiction. And then if you stay till the end, I'm going to tell you why I don't think it matters in recovery to know what causes sex addiction. First of all, what is sex addiction? Sex addiction, porn addiction. Porn addiction is just a subset of sex addiction. So what is sex addiction? It's really three things. One, it's an inability to stop once a person starts. So once a person starts in on all those acting out behaviors, whether it be porn, infidelity, cheating, dating apps, that kind of thing, they go into a trance-like state and they get sucked into the addiction. And so it just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes until something happens and then they stop. And usually what happens when they stop, they feel despair, distress, shame, guilt, all that thing, promising themselves they're never going to do it again. It's exactly what happened to me. The second part is the mental obsession with it. So after that person, and this was true for me, I'd stop acting out, come to the end of an acting out episode, and I promised myself I'm never going to do it again. And then sometime in the near future, 20 minutes, 2 days, 3 days, usually it's about 3 days, suddenly the thought would cross my mind, it'd be nice to sit down, look at some pornography, nice to do this. And I knew like I'd made that promise to myself 3 days earlier that I couldn't do it, but it would eat away at me and eat away at me. And eventually it would grow into this raging obsession. And 99.9% of the time I would give into it, many times just to make the obsession go away so that I could clear my head. And the idea was like, if I just act out, I can move on with my day. But the problem was when I acted out, hours and hours would go by, sometimes days. Towards the end, it was like weeks and weeks of acting out. It got really, really bad for me. So the main problem centers in the mind rather than in the compulsion. So I could tell myself a million times I'm going to stop, but I had an obsession with it, a mental process that brought me back to it over and over again. That's the cycle of addiction. Now, the third part of this, one thing that I was not aware of, is I had underlying issues that were really at the root of the addiction. The acting out behaviors were just a symptom of a deeper issue. So a really great mentor of mine in recovery once said to me, Russell, you don't have an acting out problem or a sex addiction problem or a porn addiction problem. You have a life problem. You have a sober problem. The problem is you can't live your life without utilizing these acting out behaviors to medicate your life issue. And like it kind of, when he said that, it turned everything upside down for me. I suddenly realized I was in recovery and not successful stopping because I was just trying to stop the behavior and do the things I needed to do to stop the behavior without treating the underlying issue. And so over time, I would gravitate back towards the acting out to medicate and sort of feel better from my internal underlying issues. So the key in recovery is to heal underlying issues enough that we do not need the acting out behaviors to feel better, while simultaneously getting the supports we need to do that. We'll always need to be around other people in recovery and continually doing recovery work. It's not just, oh, I fix my underlying issue and then all of a sudden I stay sexually sober for the rest of my life. There's ongoing supports that I need to maintain that. Just like somebody who's taking insulin for diabetes, they need that insulin long term in order to keep the disease at bay. And so what's the cause of sex addiction or porn addiction? I think it's in the life issue, the sober problem. So it's really this underlying disposition, a certain reaction to life. What I found growing up, even before sex addiction came along, is I found this sort of low-lying, restless, irritable, and discontent. And over time, it turned into anxiety and depression and not wanting to get out of bed in the morning. Anytime I had something stressful to do at school, I might be apprehensive to go to school. There was even times where I would fake being sick so I would avoid doing something. It was like, why did I do that? And there was just some internal reaction to life and the world around me that created this restless, irritable, and discontent, which eventually turned into anxiety and depression. And so when drugs and alcohol came along, it made me feel better. When sexual acting out came along, it made me feel better. So I naturally gravitated towards those things that would give me relief from my life problem or my sober problem. So the real cause is that, and that's different for everybody. I mean, we could sit here all day and say, well, it came from, because of this XYZ thing that happened when we were growing up, and I grew up in a abusive household, which I didn't, by the way, but like people will say that, I had certain life experiences. it's, it's XYZ, and they make all these assumptions about what is causing this. But the truth is, sometimes it can just be as simple as the person gets relief from either a low-lying amount of stress and anxiety and restless, irritable, and discontent in their life, all the way up to like raging depression and anxiety. They get relief from that. So for everybody, it's a little bit different. The key in recovery is to find out, what is that about you? And so when I work with people in my recovery coaching program, we take a look at their beliefs and fears and their internal reaction. We ask them those questions. We ask them to look at that stuff, and it manifests differently for different people. And under the spotlight of awareness, they start to heal some of those underlying issues. They start to think different. They start to act different. They start to see the truth about how they show up in life, and they start to act differently, and they start to feel differently, and the necessity to act out to get relief becomes much less, and that mental obsession goes down, and they therefore break the cycle of the addiction. But the cause is this underlying disposition, some kind of issue, and the key in recovery is to find out what that is. And it's not just one thing, it's an array of things. It's a totality of different reactions and beliefs and fears that we have. And so recovery is really all about becoming more self-aware. So no matter what you do, if you do therapy, you do a recovery coaching program, you do cognitive behavioral therapy, you do EMDR, it's all really to bring awareness to what's going on with us internally, so we can start to grow and change, and to learn to cope with the underlying issues without the addictive behavior to feel better. And then one thing I will say is, especially with sex addiction and porn addiction, it's really an instinct gone awry. So not only did I use it to feel better, but it's such a powerful instinct. It's an instinct for the procreation of life. So it's naturally very pleasurable. So it lends itself very easy for that instinct of procreation and pleasure that comes along with sex, to utilize that to feel better. And the problem, I think, with sex addicts and porn addicts is that instinct gets completely out of whack, and they lose control over saying no to it. So a healthy person without sex addiction or porn addiction can say, okay, I feel sexual right now, I'm having that urge, but right now my partner's not with me, or maybe they're not interested in having sex, so I'm gonna not act on that. A sex addict loses the ability to not act on those urges. So if they can't get immediate gratification sexually, then they might go to porn, and they might start an acting out episode. So it's really important to realize that part of this is an instinct that's really just gone out of whack. Food addiction is like that too. The instinct to nourish your body with food gets out of whack by all the things that taste good, and for a food addict, it turns into something that they utilize to, again, medicate the underlying issues, the life problem, or what I call the sober problem. Hey, if you're enjoying this video and you want to watch more videos, be sure to like and subscribe. Also leave a comment. When you do all those things, more people see the videos. It'll also show you more of my videos, and it'll let you know when new videos come out, which we do about weekly. So be sure to like, subscribe. And if you're liking the video, you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. Okay, so why does it not matter in recovery to know the cause? Part of the reason is that it's really just hard to put your finger on it. So, it's more important to know that you have the addiction and what that means, which is inability to stop once you start, mental obsession, an underlying issue that perpetuates it, that you're medicating. It's more important to know, yes, that's what's going on. It's more important to know I've lost control over this, right? It's more important to know hundreds and thousands of times I've tried to stop, I've been unable to do it. It's more important to know that, and to just know that you're a sex addict and that you need recovery and need to do the things that you need to do to recover, than to, try to intellectualize, like, what is it? Was it from my upbringing? Was it a genetic disposition? Was it, this, that, and the other? It's best just to know that you have it, and to just really come to terms with that. I had to come to terms with, it was like, on my own, I can't stop my acting out behaviors. But if I get the right supports, all the things that we do in my recovery coaching programs, a community of other men that connect with each other, they go through a curriculum, we have group supports, we have one-to-one support, and the curriculum's designed really to bring about this self-awareness that I was talking about earlier in the video, that helps us heal those underlying issues, and then eventually recover from this and break the cycle. It's more important to just to know what is it to be a sex addict, to come to terms with that, to realize we can't do it on our own, to get into some kind of program, some kind of recovery that is pretty intensive so that you can get the supports that you need, learn how to cope with the underlying issues, and then understand what those are. Rather than like, well, where did this come from? Why does this, partners ask this all the time, because when their sex addicted partner keeps doing things, they want to know, well, like, well, how did this happen? Why is this happening? What happened to him or her that caused them to act out in this way? And the sex addict never has a really good answer to that. As I went into recovery, I started to be able to explain it a little bit more for me, but it's really hard to make assumptions about like what are the things that cause every sex addict to become a sex addict. It's really individualized, and it really doesn't matter to know that. It's more important to, one, again, know that you have the sex addiction, get the help that you need, and then start to understand and increase your own self-awareness so you can heal those underlying issues. That's more important than us making blanket statements about what does this actually come from, and they can do research studies and all that stuff, and the sex addict is still going to act out. I'm still going to act out even if I have a doctor or some psychologist say, well, here's why you're broken, Russell. It's not going to help me get into recovery and doing the things that I need to do, like what we do in my program, is really the most important. Yes, I have the thing. Yes, I'm willing to do the things I need to do to recover from this, and then doing those things, and then just living the life. And then along the way, I start to say, oh, that's why I acted out. Like for me, for example, the propensity I have to stub my toe and then want to act out afterwards. It's like that was my reaction to life at one point. Anytime I had any kind of pain or difficulty, I needed some kind of relief. And over years in recovery, I started to look at that stuff, and I started to be like, okay, how can I get relief without destroying my life with sexual acting out? So that's really the key. It doesn't matter what caused this. The key is to know that you have it, get into recovery, do the things you need to do to recover from this. Hey, if you're liking this video and you're interested in working with us, I have a wonderful recovery coaching program where about 100 people are in the program right now, and they're doing great. Most of them are doing pretty good, and a lot of people are recovering from this. We show you exactly how to do this as a curriculum. We give group and individual support. If you're interested in learning more about that, check out the description somewhere around this video. There's a link. Click through that. You'll go to my website or go to a landing page where there'll be a video with more information, and then an opportunity somewhere around there to schedule a call with one of my recovery advisors. And what they'll do is they'll dig into your situation, see if you got this thing, at very least give you some suggestions, and if it made sense to work with us in the program specifically, they'd outline what that would look like working together. So if you're interested in that, click on that link, book a call with us. There's no pressure there. It's just a call to get to know you and see if what we do might be a good fit. And at the very least, you'll learn some things, and regardless of whether you work with us. So check that out, and great recording this video for you. Let us know if you have any questions in the comments.